Hi there, I'm Chef Allison. Today I'm going to demonstrate how to prepare the 3 fundamentals of flavor in plant-based cooking: garlic, ginger, and onions. So to get started, you're going to need a few pieces of equipment: a cutting board, a knife, a spoon for peeling the ginger. I'm going to be using a bench scraper to pick up the ingredients once we've cut them up, but if you don't have this, just use your hand or your knife. That's totally fine. And then finally, I have a collection going that I'm going to put all of the trimmings we made today into this to use to make my vegetable stock in a couple of days. Instructions for how to do this are in the cookbook. Let's get started with the garlic. So the very first thing you have to do when you have a head of garlic like this is peel it and break it up. All of this, even bits like this, this you can add straight into your trimmings. So first off, you'll see that at the top, or not the top, but the bottom of the garlic, there's this part right here. You don't really want that in whatever you're making, so you're just going to slice that part right off. I like to push my blade against the cutting board and keep it while I pick up the garlic, because often when you do that, the bottom half of the peel will stay with it. Just like that. And then from there, you're going to finish peeling the garlic. And then all of the skins and the little bits at the end you cut off can all go into your collection. So next, I normally smash the garlic, which is what we're going to do today. I recommend lining it up so that the slope down is away from you, so that the point of your blade is away from you, and just pushing down and smashing it. It'll look just like this when it's done. Let's do that for all 3. By putting the blade away from you and angled slightly down, you're going to reduce the risk of cutting your hands, which is not super likely in this scenario if you just pay attention. So next thing we're going to do is, from the top to the root of the garlic, you're going to do just a couple of slices all the way through the smashed garlic, and then hold all that garlic together, turn it on the side, and do the exact same thing so you have nice, coarsely chopped garlic. On to the next 2. Whenever you're cutting, especially with stuff as small as this, make sure you really pay attention to what you're doing, not only where the blade goes, but where your fingertips are. You kind of want to tuck them in a little bit just so that you don't accidentally cut yourself. And then you can leave the garlic at this size, which I normally tend to do just because I like my garlic to have a little bit of body so that it's not just completely a paste. But if you want to go smaller than this, maybe you have picky eaters in the household, you can hold your knife right at the base of the blade like this with your fingers on top and go up and down. Back and forth, scrape, get it off the sides, and then change direction and go through again until you have your desired size. All right, then I'm just gonna wipe my blade off because garlic can get pretty sticky, and so you don't wanna let that kind of harden on your knife. And then we're just gonna move that over right here. So next up, let's do the onion. So here's the root of the onion, here's the top. We're gonna cut off the top, but not the root yet. So take your knife and just cut the top right off, and then you're going to cut exactly halfway through the root like this and down. And then from here, you're going to peel definitely the first layer. I normally do the first 2 layers of the onion off. And then all of it into the collection. And then you can see on my onion that it has a slight abnormality. Well, not really an abnormality, but there's some of the peel on the inside just from the way it grew. So I'm actually going to peel all the way down to that layer off. It can feel a bit wasteful, but again, all of this is going into my stock collection, so the flavor is going into my food eventually, so I'm okay with it. With them still together here at the root, we're going to keep that intact for as long as possible. One, because if you cut off the root, it releases more sulfur, which is what creates that burning sensation in your eyes, but also because it holds the onion together to make it easier to cut. So this is pretty small, so I'm just going to make 2 cuts that are horizontal. But if your onion is larger, I would recommend doing 3 or 4, again, just depending on the size of the onion and the size you want of your dice. So just flat, fingers on the top, cut all the way, not all the way through, but until just about there, so you still have it intact, but you are getting a lot of the onion. And then from here, we're going to make some cuts down the middle, or excuse me, down the top, vertical cuts. I'm gonna do probably about 5, just like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If the ends of your onion fall off, don't worry about it. Just put them to the side to do at the end rather than try and hold it all together, especially because onions can get kind of slippery, and so it's better to just, you know, wait a few seconds to cut something else rather than accidentally cutting your finger. And then again, just whatever sides you made those cuts, go through and cut this onion too. And then into the collection, and we'll do it on this side as well. 1 to 4 horizontal cuts, typically 4 to 8 vertical cuts, and then what would this be? Longitudinal? I didn't pronounce that correctly. More of these cuts too. And now you have all these, you know, somewhat equal sized dice of the onion. Again, I'm just going to wipe down my station and my knife just so things don't get sticky on me. Finally, let's prepare some of this ginger. So most recipes will call for anywhere from a 1/2 inch to 2 inches of fresh minced ginger. So we're just going to do a piece about that big. And then the first thing I typically do is just kind of trim off ends and bits that are longer or flatter. So just anywhere you see that's mostly flat on your ginger, or any kind of gnarly bits like that, cut those off first. From here, you're just going to take the back of your spoon, and it might take a little bit at first, especially for one this small, or the front works too, and you're just going to scrape the skin off. I prefer a spoon instead of a traditional peeler just because gingers tend to be small and kind of unwieldy to use that larger piece of equipment on, and the spoon honestly works just fine for me. It helps to balance your ginger on a stable part of the ginger to do this, so you have a little more leverage. Pretty good is perfect in this case. So from here, we're going to make some planks. Because the ginger is very fibrous, we are going to want to try and get this in a much smaller cut than the onions or the garlic was. And so I'm going to start just by shearing off small planks, just like this. So you can see these planks aren't even this thin. You can get them thinner if you want, but this is a great starting point. I normally stack similar shapes on top of each other when I'm doing this. And very similar to how we did with the onions, we're just gonna basically do a crosshatch again. Thin little planks, or shears I guess at this point. Kind of get them in the same orientation, it's not the end of the world. And then into little cubes. So we'll go through and do this on all of them. And then from here, we're gonna do the exact same thing we did with the garlic, but a few more times. Again, nice good grasp right at the bottom of your blade, not the handle. 2 to 3 fingers near the tip of your knife to hold it down against the cutting board, and then it's just this rocking up and down motion. Spray it together again. Thank you again for joining me as we went over the techniques of horse chop on garlic, dicing onions, and mincing ginger. I hope this was helpful for you in order to add more flavor to your cooking in this time where we're spending so much of our time inside. And I hope you stay safe, be well, and eat good food.